Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shahana. It's been an interesting week. Sometimes as a physician, I walk alongside or at least watch people go through these incredibly difficult time periods in their life. They can go from being completely healthy to suddenly receiving a devastating diagnosis just out of the blue. And most recently, and it's not to compare it at all to a devastating diagnosis, but my mom has been having some recent health issues, and for a woman who's been really healthy and relatively active, it's come as a big shock. We just got a CT done of her head, and it showed, in fact, that she had had an old stroke. We don't know how long ago the stroke had happened, but it definitely shows that there was evidence of a stroke. So it's been such an interesting thing communicating this and walking alongside my mom as we now try to figure out, what preventative strategies can we put into place to help mitigate any further damage. I can see that look and that expression on her face. I watched her become very quiet, and it's almost that moment of true vulnerability as you think, oh, it's happening to me now. This thing that you almost expect in some ways that as you get older, like when is the penny going to drop? What diagnosis is it going to be now? And she said something so interesting to me, because her family doctor had mentioned that, her blood pressure might be more recently on the higher side, because since receiving all of this news, she might be feeling a bit more anxious. And she looked at me and said, Shahana, it really struck home when she said that, because I didn't want her to think that I was weak. I didn't want her to think that I was weak. And yet I told her, wouldn't it be odd if you weren't feeling a little bit anxious? Wouldn't it be odd that you didn't have any sort of feelings of feeling keyed up, feeling on edge, feeling like this was a little bit too much to swallow all at one time? We have to remember that anxiety is a very normal emotion. It's extremely normal. In fact, it would be abnormal not to feel anxious when you're given bad news. It would be abnormal not to feel anxious when you have to undergo all of these tests. But it's so interesting how I would never think that someone who's had high blood pressure or diabetes or high cholesterol, I would never say, oh, you're weak because of that. But the minute we turn our attention to emotional and mental health, somehow the footnote, the synonyms are things like you need to correct yourself, you need to be stronger, or even worse, you are weak because of that. Let's stop equating mental health with weakness.